Talk about another form of aggregation of data, and that would be the NSA's phone surveillance program under Section 215 of the Patriot Act, and the confluence of of things that we're going to be dealing with over the next, let's say, month, really. There's three things that are happening over the next month that I think are very important or could happen. And one is, and we've been talking about this, the TPP, and specifically fast track, votes on fast track. I mentioned earlier in the week that Harry Reid has basically said, well, I'm going to put the brakes on that until we talk about reauthorization of the FISA Act, which is due June 1st. Essentially, right. I should say the Patriot Act sunsets, and also he wants to talk about infrastructure with the highway bill, and then this gets thrown into the mix, and also Mike Huckabee's announcement gets thrown into the mix. There's a lot of things that are sort of intersecting here. Let's start with this Court of Appeals. It basically says that the way the NSA has been interpreting Section 215, well, I'll just read this. The interpretation that the government asks us to adopt defies any limiting principle. In other words, there's no way to basically say, the way that they're defining as to what the NSA has access to, there's no way to ever say, okay, this is where it ends. The same rationale that it proffers for the relevance, and that's in quotes, of telephone metadata cannot be cabined to such data and applies equally to other sets of records. If the government is correct, it could use 215 to collect and store in bulk any other existing metadata available anywhere in the private sector, including metadata associated with financial records, medical records, and electronic communications, including email and social media information relating to all Americans, which, frankly, I wouldn't be surprised if they're already doing that. But they're basically saying that when you say something is relevant, the way you're interpreting the words relevant to an investigation basically means everything.
Right. Well, luckily, none of those things you just brought up are important. So it wouldn't matter if they monitored all that. Yeah, well, I mean, it was a 3-0 ruling, if I'm correct, so It was unanimous. Not hugely surprising. I'm not a constitutional scholar, but from my understanding of our Constitution, it seems to me that in the FISA court and how that kind of updated our rules and our laws governing this. I mean, quite simply, you need to get a warrant, or I guess it's 72 hours retroactively. You still can. There's a lot of room there for these guys to operate, and to just bulk collect without suspicion, without reasonable suspicion and a warrant is not the way this country is supposed to work. So I think the system came out working this time, at least so far.
Well, and the situation, of course, though, is that, and we should be clear, they didn't rule this unconstitutional. They didn't even have to get to that because even the way that the NSA is interpreting the law, they say is wrong. And so they basically sided with Jim Sensenbrenner, who was like, this is not what we anticipated when we passed the Patriot Act. And so they basically said, we're going to let this continue because you've got to reauthorize this by June 1st anyways. And so this is your authorization is going to go away. It's unclear what the Congress could do if they wanted to allow the NSA to continue to do this. And then I would imagine there would be a constitutional challenge, right? Even if they changed it to some wording that would allow for what the NSA does, which it's not clear that they would actually do that in terms of Congress changing the wording, then it would be subject to a constitutional challenge. But it's unclear what Congress is going to do. Mitch McConnell was out there yesterday screaming about how this needs to be reauthorized, but clearly it can't be reauthorized in the same way because the court, to the extent that there's been any direction from any court, the court has basically said, no, this is not working. This is not statutorily correct.
Right.
And then we have the other issue of how can anybody say that Edward Snowden is not a whistleblower at this point, where this court has just vindicated his analysis that the government was doing something, or I should say the NSA was doing something that is illegal?
Yeah. I mean,
I didn't leave you much room there, too.
No, thanks, dude. Yeah, dude, exactly what he said, everyone, what he said. Yeah, I don't really have anything to add to that. I think you said it well, Sam.
Well, and the way this plays into the TPP, of course, is this is going to take more time. This is not going to be a straight up or down vote on authorization. It's not going to be a straight, let's debate some amendments here, because now somebody's got to go back to the drawing board. And if they even want to be able to authorize the NSA to do what they've been doing, they're going to figure out a way of doing that.
Yeah, which, as we know how things work so quickly in Washington, that should happen by about 2022. So you're right. I mean, that affects a lot of other legislation. I mean, as we know, the whole place is going to grind to a halt soon enough anyhow because of presidential politics. And so if they're dealing with this and they need to change this, you're right. I mean, if they can effectively keep TPP behind this, that may be helpful in some other ways. So there may be a side benefit to this.